Good morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. I hope you guys are well. All is fine here. I have a day off. All I've been doing is marinating chicken, ready for a superb supper. So I've slightly turmeric-y hands at the moment, which doesn't seem to come out. But enough of that. Today is a really quick off-the-cuff video almost. I recently featured this perfume in a top 6 vetiver video. This is Nishane Sultan Vetiver. And it's created quite a lot of interest. I've had a lot of people asking me whether the Nishane is going to be a safe blind buy. So I thought I'd do this video now to help a few people out and give my full attention just to this one fragrance, not the others, to try and explain a little bit more about it. Now, one of the reasons why it is so sought after at the moment is the UK discounter Notino has it on sale at the moment for £78 as of this morning. Now, Harrods are selling it for 150 for exactly the same thing. So it's obviously a very attractive blind buy. And what we wanted to try and explore is it going to be a safe blind buy? And well, the ultimate answer to that has to be no. And here's why. I just want to try and describe the fragrance as best I can, tell you as much as I can about it. So you're more informed if you want to try and grab a bargain. It's been around since 2013 and the nose behind Sultan Vetiver is Jorge Lee, who I'm a big fan of. He also made, well, I think he made pretty much all of Nishane's first collection, but he certainly made Musica Oud, which is one of my favourites from the house, if not my favourite from the house. An extremely underrated, ultra potent perfume, this is certainly not a blind buy. Do not blind buy this.
No, God, please, no, no!
This is a bit too mad for most people. I love it, but I can see why a lot of people won't like Musica Oud. And to a degree, I think Sultan Vetiver is going to be exactly the same. The problem we have is when I say this is really full of vetiver, it's a massive vetiver powerhouse, people will think, oh, I like vetiver. I quite like it in Terre d'Hermes. I quite like it in Grey Vetiver from Tom Ford. This smells nothing like that. And, you know, the two perfumes I just mentioned there are using a subtle amount of vetiver that's all kind of very lovely and very well organised and it behaves itself. Sultan Vetiver doesn't. Sultan Vetiver is a bit of a madman when it comes to vetiver. There's 4 sources of vetiver within this perfume, which I don't think you often see outside of attars and things like that. You know, this is as vetiver gets. So what we'll do, I am wearing it, and this is my 3rd attempt at trying to quickly make this video, so I'm absolutely smothered in it. So I will spray a very tiny bit, because I also wanted to show you something when it comes to the perfume itself. So look, there's a tiny little bit on my hand there, and it's already filling up the room, by the way. And look, that is super oily. It's thick, it's slick. It just goes thud on your hand, and you know, it's almost like putting on suntan lotion. It's so heavy. And there you go. So what we'll do is we'll let that calm down a bit and then we'll talk through the notes and then we'll talk about, you know, what you should be aware of if you're going to try and blind buy this wonderful perfume. Okay, so if we look at the notes, on the top you have Java vetiver oil, you have anise, you have bergamot, and you have pepper. And then in the mid you have Bourbon vetiver, then you have Haitian vetiver, then you have Neroli tonka bean, and then on the base you have vetiver, and then you have leather, and you have amber. Now, vetiver can be grassy, it can be earthy, it can be green, it can be soapy, it can be woody, and it can be smoky. Sultan Vetiver uses all of those elements. I think when you've got 4 different sources of vetiver, Jorge Lee has managed to use sources of vetiver that deliver all of those. So it's green, it's woody, you've got the whole gambit in here. And like oud, vetiver can sometimes come across as a bit medicinal, and you'll get some of that in here too. So when the perfume hits your skin, which is still like an oil slick, I hasten to add, it just bounces off your skin and you think, oh, this is really nice, this is light. The bergamot and the pepper give it such a bright opening. The anise kind of sits in the background, but you will pick up on it. And then the vetiver starts to wake up. Boom. And then the vetiver starts to fill the room. And this is where you suddenly think, oh, I see what you mean. This really is all about vetiver, isn't it? And it's relentless. It doesn't stop. What this perfume reminds me of is like a carousel of smell. If you were standing in front of a carousel looking at all the horses spinning around, if you can imagine every single one of those horses is a different kind of vetiver. And as the vetiver comes round, it slows down in front of you and gives you a big glug of it. So you've got 1 kind of vetiver, 2 kinds of vetiver, 3, and so forth and so on. All the other materials in this perfume are here to support and amplify the vetiver. And it works. If you are looking for a Vetiver Nirvana, a journey through this wonderful grass, this is the perfume for you. But it's not like Terre d'Hermès. It's not like Tom Ford's Grey Vetiver. It's not dainty, it's potent, okay? This fills rooms, this leaves a sillage behind you, and it's quite difficult to get your head around if you're not really, really in love with this material. So you have this sweet, slightly citrusy, peppery introduction to the greenness that is vetiver, and then it becomes very, very clean, soapy, really soapy. And as that happens, it starts to get darker, and then there's a little bit more sweetness comes into it, and then it becomes very earthy, slightly medicinal. And I did describe it as walking through a doctor's surgery, and there is a bit of that in here. That kind of phase doesn't last for long, but it certainly does come up. Then it becomes a little bit more intense, almost smoky. All of this is playing out on a background of a cleanness. So you have a very, very green experience when you're wearing this perfume, and it does change quite considerably, but it doesn't deviate from vetiver. That's all you're really, really going to get. As the perfume starts to dry down completely, the woodiness from some of the vetiver starts to link up with a leather-like accord, so you have a woody kind of leathery nuance in the dry down. And this again starts to warm up a bit with, you know, they've listed amber as a note. As we know, amber isn't a note. It's it's something that's made up of lots of different materials to give an ambery effect. And these materials are encompassed in this label of amber, start to come into the fore. So you've got a warmish, leathery, but still green dry down that has enough sweetness to carry it, but it's not an overly sweet perfume or a particularly sweet at all perfume, but there is a little sweetness in here. The tonka bean gets lost in this. I don't really get it. I think it maybe just adds a little bit of creaminess to it. And as for the neroli, all that does here is light things up. You don't actually smell neroli in this at all. Well, certainly I don't either. I don't at all. I just get a kind of there's almost like a little bit of a freshness in the dry down, but that's sort of swallowed up by this leathery, ambery accord. But at the heart of it, this stays green all the way through, and this stays very vetiver-like all the way through. And it will fluctuate, as I say, like the carousel, from medicinal to soapy to earthy to green to soapy to earthy, etc., etc. So, you know, do not be under any illusions that this is just a vetiver bomb. It's a beautifully made one. It's a perfume I love, and even me as a massive fan of it. Look, still slick, still shiny. I couldn't wear this every day. I would be so sick of it by the end of the week, I would never wear it again. But it's one that you need to pick and choose your moments to wear, because when you wear it and you're in the right mood for it and the right environment, it's absolutely devastating. Because also there's a kind of a little bit of a hint of mint in here somewhere, like more like a eucalyptusy vibe than a minty vibe. It doesn't smell of spearmint or mint. There's almost like a freshness under it, a kind of a mentholy-like thing, which I would kind of reminds me a little bit of eucalyptus. That kind of sits in the background. So what it does is it enables this intense perfume to be worn pretty much all year round. So it's not necessarily a summer or a winter fragrance. I think you can wear it in any, I would personally wear this on a warm day, but not a hot one, purely because of the dry down may not work well with the heat. But it's a very, very versatile perfume. And I think it works well kind of all year round. So who can wear it? Well, I find the perfume does lean masculine. I think it would smell, as I often say, I think it would smell great on a woman who's comfortable wearing it, because it is incredibly potent and it does get noticed. It's not a fragrance that you're going to wear to generate compliments, because it just does not work like that. If you feel comfortable wearing it, you'll come across as smart and interesting, but it's not one that people are going to fawn over you and tell you how wonderful you smell. I don't think vetiver does that, especially not in here. So it is a masculine-leaning fragrance, and I think it will be a brave woman, but one that's confident to wear it. It would smell great on. In terms of age group, for me, this is a mature fragrance. I really struggle to think of a young thruster wearing this one. I think the youth will stick to your Sauvages and your sweet perfumes. I'm sorry. I think it's certainly a mature leaning perfume. It's something your professor would wear in a college. You know, it's a well-dressed man that wears this. That's the image I get, and obviously that's an incredibly sexist one to have. You know, a glamorous woman will pull this off. You know, anyone can pull it off if they're confident. But for me personally, I would say it leans to a mature, masculine sort of style environment for the fragrance to be worn. Performance-wise, as I've mentioned, it's off the hook. It's supremely long-lasting. It projects massively. It has a huge sillage. You're certainly getting bang for your buck. So, when it comes to a blind buy, if you're going to blind buy it, do it now when it's £78. Don't blind buy it at £150. And the reason I say that is if you're going to blind buy it, you'll be able to move it on because it is quite a popular fragrance at the moment. But in all seriousness, don't blind buy it. If you're in London, go into Harrods and try it first, and then you can then decide if it's going to be, you know, a bargain. If you're not anywhere that carries the line, you are going to struggle, but maybe you can find it in a group where you can get a sample, or maybe one of the sample houses or something like that may be able to furnish you with a sample for a couple of quid. Please don't, you know, resist the temptation. Don't spend a lot of money on a blind buy. I used to be, you know, king of the blind buys. I'd love a blind buy, but I've got a huge collection now. I'm really, really fussy about what I'm adding to my collection in terms of perfume. So I'm not desperately trying not to blind buy anymore. So there you go. That's my take on Sultan Vetiver from Nishane. A fantastic perfume for the right person, all right? Don't just think, I like vetiver, I'll have it, because this is probably going to be vetiver like you've not smelt before. So there you go. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have got it, let me know what you think of it. And if you have blind bought it already, I hope it works out for you. Okay, so from me and Rich, thank you very much for your time. It's always very appreciated. And we shall see you on the next video. Cheers, thanks, and bye.